Are you serious? Are you people serious? It's time to analyze Vladimir Putin. Only one way to do it. Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from their neighborhood, hop on a flight to Sochi or maybe over to Hollywood. But I'm gonna take a limousine along the Moscow line. I'm in a Putin state of mind. I've seen all the movie stars in their fancy cars and Clinton's limousines. I've been in the highest mountains, sitting with Trump near the evergreens. But I know what I'm needing, and I don't want to waste anybody else's time. I'm in a Putin state of mind. It was so easy living day by day, out of touch with the people walking in the city every day. I like the KGB and little give and take every day. And I'm tired of the Moscow Times. But it comes down to reality, and it's fine with me, 'cause I'm sick of everybody. I don't care if it's Ukraine or the United Nations. I don't have any reason. I'll just leave the Kremlin behind, 'cause I'm in a Putin state of mind. Oh yes, I'm in a Putin state of mind. I'm tired of the United Nations trying to be a friend of mine. I got Turkey and I've got Iran, and now China is on the line. I'm in a Putin state of mind. Oh yeah, stop it everybody. Thank you, Brock. Brock's in here. Brock's in here. Brock, you got a question for me?
I was going to add to it. Remember, it's believed that Putin has survived 7 assassination attempts.
It's believed that Putin has survived 7 assassination attempts
over the course of history. So he's a hard person to kill.
He really is.
Yeah.
And you think about that every one of these guys that are tyrants and dictators, hard to kill. Adolf Hitler survived 41 assassination attempts, including a bomb going off underneath the table. And yeah, but 7 assassination attempts. He survived them all. Yeah, this guy is.
It's not easy
No, but see, he's walking in a different state of mind. Seriously, he don't think like the rest of us. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think man will take him out. I think God will.
Yeah, it'll take God to take him out. I agree with you. Yeah. Brock, I'll be with you in just a minute, okay?
Good song.
Uh-huh. Well, folks, yeah, I mean, we're in a Putin state of mind. And when you think about it, it's kind of warped. Let's put a shout out right now for noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. If you call Colin Plume or one of his associates, he can help you with your 401k or your IRA. Don't call Vladimir because he's collecting gold and he'll take yours, but not Noble Gold. They won't. They'll help you. They'll help you convert some of your retirement funds into a gold IRA. And with the hyperinflation going on right now, money is eroding. Also, if you sign up for a gold IRA, look at this Thomas Jefferson, 3 ounces of pure silver, and it's called the Silver American Virtue Coin, and he'll give you this for free if you sign up for a gold IRA at noblegoldinvestment.com. All right, so yeah, I had to sing that little bit of the Putin state of mind, but really, Putin's state of mind has been identified by psychologists in the West. They say what he is suffering from is called deformation professionelle, which is a French term. That's deformation or deformation professionelle. What does that mean? Well, it is an actual psychological term that tyrants have. Formation professionelle means a vocational training. Deformation professionelle, therefore, refers to tunnel vision, biases, distortions. It's when a person becomes an expert at whatever they do that they're oblivious to anybody else's opinion. Formation professionelle means a vocational training. Deformation professionelle, therefore, refers to tunnel vision, bias, distortions. It's unbelievable, folks, but it's what Putin seems to be suffering from. Matter of fact, Putin suffered his deformation professionelle in the KGB, the spy agency of the former Soviet Union. He worked there from 1975 when he was in his 20s until just before the USSR collapsed back in about 1991. The wall came down, of course, in 1989. And to this day, President Vladimir Putin likes to emphasize that there's no such thing as a former KGB agent. People may have left the agency, but it never left them. And that's his quote. Again, to this day, President Vladimir Putin likes to emphasize that there's no such thing as a former KGB agent. People may have left the agency, but the agency has never left them. And Putin hallucinations become fathomable. The Soviet Union didn't fall, he believes. It was pushed by a hostile West. Putin thinks protesters were hired or manipulated by the CIA and other Western secret services. So he don't believe that his people, when he sees thousands of Russians in the streets protesting against his communistic ways and his KGB tactics. Remember, this guy didn't get to become president of that country by shaking hands and kissing babies. Quite the contrary, folks. He got there by assassinations and imprisonments, spying on your neighbor, throwing people in jail, or people just disappearing. This is a different breed. This is a man who is suffering from a psychosis of power. And he's not the only one. We have him in Congress. I'm just talking about the Putin state of mind, but deformation professionelle is in Washington. The swamp is full of them. You can't get rid of them. That's why they stick around till they're in their 90s. You can't get rid of them. In the Congress, especially, because there's no term limits. And there they are. You know who they are. They're the same people, been there for 50 years, 45 years. They get worse as time goes on. And they become so tunnel vision, that they're so power hungry, that the cries of the innocent, of the people, they are oblivious to. And they won't do anything to help us at all. They're worse than the Sadducees and Pharisees of the Bible. They put grievous burdens on the people and they won't lift it with a finger. They're hypocrites. They tell you to do one thing, they do another. This is called a Putin state of mind. It really is. Well, let me read to you this article about this. It was really well put together, an analogy, the psychology of Putin's KGB mind. The term, it's a French term called Deformation professionelle, describes how people are warped by their speculations. It applies to this tyrant in the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin. One way to think yourself into a warped mind of a despot, into like Russian President Vladimir Putin, is to first probe into the dark recesses of your own psyche. Then figure out what's different between you and him. The list is long, but one cognitive snafu that both common and relevant is called deformation professionelle. We use this French term not only because that language often captures things better, but also because the phrase has an embedded pun that doesn't translate into the English professional deformation. Because formation professionelle means vocational training. Deformation professionelle means, therefore, refers to tunnel vision, biases, and distortions that become a part, make you an expert or a narcissist even of what you do. Many prosecutors, for example, will walk down a random street looking from their left to their right, and they see people who are guilty of something that everybody they look at is guilty, just not caught yet. While a defense attorney strolls down the same street and he looks around, he sees human beings who are unjustly being accused of something and probably harassed by an overbearing government. Usually, deformation professionelle is all around us, but no more than a nuisance. It applies to the professor who comes home at night and annoyingly keeps lecturing, stays in the lecture mode with his wife and kids, or that IT tech guy who works at your company, when left to his own devices in the name of cybersecurity, he would log you out of your computer, make it so difficult you'll never get anything done. In the context of geopolitics generally, the Russian attack on Ukraine specifically, the stakes are this, of course, immeasurably higher. Putin suffers his deformation professionelle in the KGB, the spy agency of the former Soviet Union. He worked there from 1975, when he was in his 20s, until just before the USSR collapsed. To this day, he likes to emphasize that there's no such thing as a former KGB agent. People may have left the agency, but it never left him. And long before becoming leader of this nuclear power, therefore, he built an identity and a personality as a spook. Ponder this. He didn't rise to power after running for office, shaking hands and kissing babies, nor after managing a business or helping patients or researching on cancer or selling items. No, Putin got into his pole position in the Kremlin as the alpha male by spying on other human beings, tracking them, manipulating them, in some cases, assassinating them, imprisoning them, or discarding them. What did that do for Putin's mind? As we encounter it today, German ambassadors to Russia describe his psychological consequences as he observed them. Putin sorts everything in life, private or public, Russian or global, into categories of actual or potential hostilities, conspiracies, and threats. Ivan Krastev, a Bulgarian political scientist, concurs. He said he is constantly speaking of betrayal and deceit. Putin sees history and current events. Things never happen spontaneously. If people demonstrate, he doesn't ask, why are they out in the streets? He asks, who sent them? Many of Putin's hallucinations become fathomable. The Soviet Union didn't fall, he says. It was pushed by this hostile West. And the color revolutions in the former Soviet republics weren't primal yells for freedom by people who felt oppressed. Those protesters were hired or manipulated by the CIA and other Western secret services. Ukrainians don't want to join the European Union, he says, for its promise of prosperity and progress and liberty. They're doing it because they're run by Nazis, whose real objective is to encircle and betray Russia and Putin. Another aspect of his particular deformation professionelle concerns truth, or rather, the complete absence of and irrelevance of the very notion of truth. For years, people like Peter Pomerasov, a Soviet-born British author, have pointed out that Putin flaunts his power by defining reality as arbitrarily as he pleases. The once and always KGB agent knows that if nothing is true, then everything is possible. We are left with the sense that we don't know what Putin will do next, that he's unpredictable, thus dangerous. We're rendered stunned, spun, and flummoxed by the Kremlin's weaponization of absurdity and unreality. While there was a German ambassador to the Kremlin, while Putin was the German ambassador to the Kremlin, von Fitch experienced firsthand the cognitive whiplash that produces in others. In some conversations in Moscow after annexation of Crimea in 2014, I had a feeling that we invaded the peninsula rather than Russia. If there is no truth, it's no longer matters, whether you distort reality or invert it, as long as you can. In Putin's system, lying isn't a bug, it's a feature. So what makes Putin different from the rest of us? A lot. First, while we may all suffer from some type of deformation professionally, like anybody would in their profession, we're not spies, we're not spooks, and we aren't tyrants. Secondly, bias as our worldview may be, every one of us, most of us still have to occasionally encounter and interact with other people who have different perspectives. Putin, by contrast, never has to deal with that. He appears to be completely isolated in his own alternative reality. And thirdly, even when we go off the deep end, most of us don't have enough power to hurt millions of innocent bystanders. We don't have the power to drop bombs on apartment complexes or maternity wards and hospitals. Although the grieving people of Tues Wed, Texas, know that a person acting alone can destroy the lives of many in Robb Elementary, Putin does have the ultimate power, which comes with the codes of launching nukes, and the threat of it takes peace from the earth. His formative years in the KGB have caused a deformation professionelle in Vladimir Putin that has left him cynical, paranoid, vengeful, unscrupulous, and ruthless, and above all, malicious. Look at Ukraine, the West, the world. They must keep that in mind in calibrating the strategy against him. We're not dealing, folks, with a mind, a rational mind. We're not dealing with a human being who thinks like we think, because none of us think about dropping bombs on our neighborhoods. As much as division we should have in this country between the blue states and the red states, it's not in the psyche of most of us to hate our neighbor. We may not agree with their politics, but we don't go to this level. Putin is oblivious to the reality that people have differences of opinions. It's his way or the highway. And so that's why I was studying the Bible. In the Battle of Gog and Magog that's coming up. And Israel Hall, we were doing the show last night over at Getting Ready. And Israel read a little bit out of the 38th chapter of Ezekiel, talking about the invasion of Israel coming up in the Gog and Magog war. And as he was reading there, a verse popped into my mind about what Gog will do. It says that Gog gets an evil thought. He thinks, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to attack the cities that are unwalled or unprotected, soft targets. Here's what it says. He gets a thought, okay? He starts to think something evil. Here it is. It's in Ezekiel 38, verse 10. Thus saith the Lord God, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. He's talking about Gog now, okay? It says, while you're attacking Israel, while you're going after their homes and villages, you'll get an evil thought. Something will come into your mind, an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up into the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, at peace, that dwell safely, who are not causing me any problems. All of them dwelling without walls, no protection, having neither bars nor gates, that soft targets, soft communities. And I will take a spoil, and I will take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods and dwell in the midst of the land. And I will go in and take them and spoil them and take their prey and carry away their silver and their gold and take away their cattle and their goods, to take a great spoil. This evil thought pops into the mind of Gog. And what what God is saying here in the prophet Ezekiel is that in these last days, in that great battle of Gog and Magog, when the hook is in the jaw, and Russia and Syria and Iran and Ethiopia and Libya and other nations and groups come over top the Golan Heights and surround Jerusalem with many armies, that Gog will get this thought, you know what? Why just take the city? Why not ravage the countryside and take spoil of everything these people have and annihilate them? This thought strikes the mind. But if you read Ezekiel 39, you'll find out what happens. That don't happen at all. God himself, the Lord himself, will fight this battle and destroy these invaders. So bad will he destroy them that it will take 7 months to bury the dead and 7 years to burn and get rid of all the weapons that are laying around in Megiddo and the surrounding areas of the Golan. So every time I go to Israel, when I go to Megiddo, we will go. If you go with me in February, we will go. And we'll stand on Mount Carmel. And we'll look across the valley of Armageddon, where it's going to take place. And we will see the very area where that great battle is going to take place. And, you know, I don't know how many years we are away from that. I don't know the day nor the hour that the Lord Jesus Christ is coming, but I can tell you, I'm not saying that Putin is Gog, okay? I'm not. I don't even know if he is, I don't actually think he is, because I don't think he'll be around. I don't know much how longer that guy can live. But the same spirit that was in Stalin is in him. That same spirit that was in Adolf Hitler and Mussolini and the Ayatollah Khomeini. It's in him. So whether he lives or dies, someone else will rise, and that spirit will come. That demon will arrive. The question is, folks, breaking news: Russia has second biggest pipeline has set ablaze. Wow. Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you. I'll be checking into that. Russia's second biggest pipeline has set ablaze. Sabotage. Yep. Yeah, that's what happens in war. That's what happens in war. War is a place of death and destruction. Aren't you glad Jesus, though, came to give us life and give it to us more abundantly? We're in the end times, guys. When I say that, I mean it. We're in the last days. Can you hear Jerusalem's cry? Can you see the storm on the rise? Look around. You can't deny this is the hour of heaven's time. Armies gathering in the east. 666 people watching right now. We're in the last days. Death will march with the beast. So seek the light and walk with the sun. Soon we'll see his wrath come down and the Lord descending from the sky. Pol Pot, you're right. He was another one. And Castro. And Idi Amin. And Mao. And Peter the Great. And Alexander the Great. And on and on and on. You guys got to get this webinar. Armies of the Antichrist. Armies of the Antichrist. Go to my website right now. Are you serious? The sun goes black and the moon blood red, and the stars fall from the sky. Word of God in the Bible says we're living in the end times. Also get this one. Deep State. Deep State uncovered. And the Lord descending from the sky. When you hear the trumpet sound, God has answered Jerusalem's cry. God has answered Jerusalem's cry. Soon the dead in Christ shall rise and join him in the sky. Even unbelievers will see God has answered Jerusalem's cry. God has answered Jerusalem's cry. You know, Randy Travis wrote that song, and 3 years ago when I recorded it on my album, The Journey, I almost didn't record that song because I thought maybe the song was too negative. And the Lord spoke to me and said, no. That song is so prophetic. You need to write that. You need to record that song because it is certainly very prophetic. Guys, also, I'm telling you, get The Last Evangelist. If you want to know what's going to happen in America, this is one of the most prophetic. You talk about prophecy. David Heavener, who has been in 50 films and has produced 30 himself, stars in this film. He produced it called The Last Evangelist. But besides being a great actor himself, I don't know if he understood this, but when he wrote this screenplay, when he wrote the script, he came to see me. Well, first of all, he found me at I was preaching in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he walked up to my booth, walked up to my table and introduced himself and wanted to know what in the world was going on at this prophecy conference. Who are these people? And after I talked to him a little while, he said, what if I made a film about the end time revelation? Would people watch it? And I said, absolutely. There's enough fluffy, puffy stuff out there. He said, all right. So he wrote the script and called me. And I drove from West Lafayette, Indiana to Louisville, Kentucky, and sat down with him at a McDonald's and had some coffee. And he read the entire script with me. We both had a copy. He sat there and read it, explained to me what this film was going to be about, what this series, a TV series called The Last Evangelist, what it would be about. And it was so prophetic that I thought, this is incredible, really. And some of the things he put in it, and because he wrote this 4 years ago, weren't even happening yet. This is before the pandemic. This is before certain things that are now definitely happening. He put it in here, and now it's here. So it's incredible. So if you haven't got a copy of this, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm in this series. I'm one of the actors in it, along with David Heavener's the star of the film. Johnny Whitaker, who's a famous actor out of Hollywood, he is one of the guest stars in it. I'm a guest star in it. Lisa Haven is also in this film. She plays a really strange doctor. I mean, she does. Pretty spooky. There's some other really good actors and actresses in here too. This is really good. And I really recommend this, to get a copy of this, guys, because it is a great film. And I think you'll be very pleased. When you watch it, you'll watch it more than once, because after you watch it the first time, you'll watch it again because you're like, now what? Wait a minute. I want to go back to that part. And there'll be so many different places where things happen that you'll want to go to the Bible and find where that's in the scripture. This is certainly a great film. Its prophecy has now become reality. The Last Evangelist is a cutting edge end time series of how Revelation prophecies are already being fulfilled today. From the demonic government control to the mark of the beast, it's a fast-paced criminal investigative show. CSI meets the book of Revelation. It is unbelievable. He prophesied the virus before it came. Unbelievable. Now, I'm going to also say to you, go to my website and get the Armies of the Antichrist. We did this webinar back in December of 2021, before Putin invaded Ukraine. And in this, we talk about the fact that Putin is going to invade Ukraine. We see it coming. It's unbelievable. Who's in it? This is unbelievable. General Jerry Boykin speaks in this. His title, Looking into the Eyes of Evil. And he tells you what it was like, because he was the commander of Black Hawk Down. That was his group. He founded, he's the founder of Delta Force. He was in charge of Delta Force when Black Hawk Down went down. He went to Somalia, went to Mogadishu to go and get his men. He said, you don't know what it's like to look into the eyes of evil. He talks a lot about what Putin's about. Then there's Bishop Athanasius Snyder, the 4 characteristics of the Antichrist, explained by the bishop, the Archbishop of Kazakhstan. It's a great rendition. I gave you one of my best presentations on the 10 Kings of Revelation, and it's a 1-hour presentation. I put it together, and it's really good, I have to say. Dr. David Robbins, the son-in-law of Dr. Irvin Baxter, does one called The Jerusalem Factor. Great interview, The Jerusalem Factor. Also, Tim Che, who wrote the screenplay and produced the movie Interview with the Antichrist out of Hollywood. You can check it out. I interviewed Tim Che. It is a great, great interview. Mike from Around the World gives you his inner thoughts of the Antichrist. Also, Colonel David Giammona and Troy Anderson, who wrote the book Military Guide to Armageddon, gives you their understanding of the armies of the Antichrist. It is excellent. Also, Pastor Mark Bilt, Signs of the End Times, a great presentation by Pastor Mark Bilt. And then Pastor Steve Ciccalante, from Australia does Persecution of the Church. Another great interview, no doubt about it. And then Rex Bear, Ancient Scripts of the End Times. This is the armies of the Antichrist. Guys, I think you're going to really, I know. Matter of fact, Jim Baker was so impressed with this that he brought me on television and he offered this as a offering, put this out as an offer for his ministry. He wanted everybody to get it, and they are getting it. Deep State. This here was the one of the more powerful DVDs we've ever done. Doug Hagman's in it. Again, General Boykin, Lisa Haven, Laura Eisenhower. She's the great-granddaughter of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. She really opens up on the deep state on this one. Mike from Around the World gives us some deep state looks. L.A. Marzulli, Steve Quayle, and myself. Deep state. Deep state. You want to get this. Also, you'll get a separate DVD that comes with it. That comes along with it free. It is a film by Bart Begley called Obamagate. Okay, and so I'll send that to you as well. So, guys, if you would go to my website, let's get some of these. I do not want anybody to miss out. These are just too good, especially after the fact. This one, is 6 months old, and boy, now it's really coming into play. And this one is about 18 months old, and it's unbelievable what was prophesied to happen is happening. And of course, this just came out, The Last Evangelist. Get all three of these. Go to my website, get them today, because I think everyone needs to understand where we're at in Bible prophecy. Okay, where we're at now. Tonight, I'm going to be with Mike from Around the World. This will be a great program. We're going to look into a lot of things. What are the Iranians doing with that rocket ship? What about the mind of Putin? And what about the mind of some of our leaders and some of the other events going on? And yes, update us. Planet X. Is that why Yellowstone is all of a sudden the snow is melting faster than normal? Rivers. This was a 1,000-year flood. Cascadia subduction zone earthquakes. Storms are forming all over the oceans way earlier than they should. What is going on? We need an update on the 5 waves of energy. Yellowstone danger zone. We need to know. We're in the last days. Give your life to Jesus Christ. It's almost over. Whatever you do, don't ever get in a Putin state of mind.